Ever since it was released in October 2023, the Elgato Prompter has set a new bar for devices in its class. So when something is so good, what do you do next? Well, you go bigger and better, of course, so meet the Elgato Prompter XL, and this is the one we've all been waiting for. For most content creators, a prompter is a must, and the Elgato Prompter really has blown the competition away, and for me, it's the closest thing I've found to those used in television. But the only downside for many was its size, and on bigger sets it was unusable because the text on the screen would be so small and it just wouldn't be practical. But since Prompter's release, Elgato have become the gold standard, or at least for me anyway, at making an affordable product that can mimic that of expensive television prompters. I've been using this compact device for over a year now, and it's by far the best investment I've made in this channel. The biggest complaint for many, though, was that it was just too compact. Now, for me and my talking head YouTube videos, just like this, I never had a problem with it being on the small side. But if we were to use this on a bigger set, as I am now, then the tiny screen was always going to be an issue. And so many of you have been screaming for a while now that we need a bigger solution, and Elgato haven't disappointed. This is Prompter XL. Just to summarize, this is all that's great about the original, but with a few enhancements. The biggest being its size. It's absolutely massive, as the screen and the glass measure a whopping 15.6 inches. Compared to Prompter, which is only 9 inches in size, it's a big difference. And some of you may think, well, it isn't a lot, but if you look at these side by side, you can see Prompter XL is about 3 times the size. This thing is massive. But we'll go through many of the features in a bit more detail in a second, but this screen is now full HD. The monitor is 600 nits compared to 450 nits in the previous version, and it has the same beam splitter glass. Of course, that now is 360mm by 290mm. You get the same step-up rings, and you can use any of your lenses with this as long as they're between 49 and 82mm. Although, if you want to use webcams or smartphones with this, there are no adapters that come in the box, so you'll have to explore third-party accessories, as this prompter is optimized for use with cameras. On top of the original prompter, you had 2 cold chews, but with Prompter XL, you have 1 continuous cold chew, which is a really nice touch. And one of my gripes with the last edition was the USB cable included. It was USB-A at one end and USB-C at the other. This one now is USB-C at both ends. Although, given that the prompter can be used a bit further away, the cable included is a bit on the short side. So I ordered a longer cable for this setup, and you can do the same. And it's recommended that you use a USB Type-C 3.2 cable. Prompter XL is also a little more power hungry, using 15 watts of power compared to the 3.5 watts of the older model. So overall, on the surface, this is a great package. Of course, the most anticipated feature of the new prompter is its size, and I think Elgato have been inundated with requests from users for a bigger device. Well, to be honest, I think that's a bit of an understatement. I guess the reason for this is that the original prompter was so good, but a lot of people were put off by the 9-inch screen. Now we have this, it's a device that many people will be very, very pleased about. And of course, this means we do get a bigger screen, and at 15.6 inches, this really is a game changer. But it all depends on your needs. If you're like me and you have the space for a larger setup, and I'm about, 9 feet away from the prompter at the moment, and the camera has a 50mm lens on it, then this is ideal for a larger setup. And I guess you can be up to 15 feet away and still be able to read the text quite comfortably. However, in this scenario, in my office, I'm about, I'd say an arm's length away from the prompter with a 22mm lens, which makes the smaller device the easy choice in this situation. So for me, it's important to understand that Prompter XL doesn't replace the original unless your needs ask for it. So I guess it's horses for courses. When Elgato got in touch to say Prompter XL was on the way, well, I just had to build a bigger set to accommodate it, and this is where we are. Getting a bigger prompter really has been the catalyst for many big changes, so it can't be underestimated how the size of this really can make a big difference. One of the things to take into consideration as well is the weight of the package. Now, the original prompter can easily hang onto the lens of your camera and then not do any damage to it because it was so light. But if you do have the room and then you buy XL, then this needs to be firmly rooted on a tripod, and the cameras are the added accessory, I suppose, onto the back of the prompter. This prompter is 3.37 kilograms, and there's no hanging it from a camera lens. Even the mount for the step-up rings on the back of the device are placed upside down compared to the smaller prompter. So I liken the XL to the next stage of a content creator's evolution because it really does remind me of the prompters I used at the BBC. It really has a presence on set, and talk about looking the part. Seriously, this looks so good. The Elgato Prompter XL is priced at $599.99 in the United States, while here in the UK it goes on sale for £499.99. And I have a feeling that these will fly off the shelves. Now, the absolute joy for the Elgato Prompter was its simplicity. You just got it out of the box and off you went. Everything was self-explanatory. And you can watch my video on the original prompter. I'll leave the link in the description for you, and it will give you a good introduction to teleprompters and if you need one for your content creation. And despite a few changes to the product, Prompter XL follows the same tradition, but with a few additions. Now, this one has all of the same features that the last one had, but as you open the box, you'll notice the screen is not attached to the rest of the device. However, Elgato just think of everything. The screen can be detached at any time, and it's cleverly held together in place with magnets. You just align the grooves at the bottom of the monitor, and it almost glues itself into position. It's a lovely little touch, and at any time, you just pull to release. But make sure if you do move this, either remove the screen or hold it via the casing, because if you try to move it holding the monitor, it will detach if you're not careful, and you could damage your expensive prompter. As I mentioned, these step-up rings, well, they're present again, which means mounting lenses is so very easy to do. There are 9 in this box here, from 49mm to 82, so you should have all of your lenses covered. And if you want to use it in a more traditional way with the camera and other devices, you can, because included in this box is this attachment with a cloak. They've also included a bracket to attach on the back, which means any camera will be supported. And if you use the step-up rings, this will give you peace of mind that the camera will remain in place. This bracket is easily adjustable. Just loosen the screw and raise and lower as you need. Along the top, you get the long cold shoe adapter for any, or should I say many, accessories. And in the box, you get that USB-C to USB-C cable. It's a very handy package, simple but effective. The software included in this package just gets the job done, and even though the software has had a few updates, Elgato have kept everything pretty much the same, certainly the way I've used it and tested it anyway. If you use the original prompter, you'll seamlessly move straight across to this without any issue whatsoever. Now, because Elgato have sent me this before launch, all of my testing has been with beta 2.20. So I assume this will be similar to what you'll get when you receive the product yourself. But as you can see, the main UI for the Camera Hub software looks exactly the same as before. And as I say, have a look at my previous prompter video for more of an introduction to this program. But as before, you'll see a number of settings down the left-hand side of the screen. The big addition to this is the ability to flip the display horizontally. On the original prompter, it was pre-flipped by default. So as you can see at the top, the Elgato Prompter XL is the device connected, and if you've decided to go for the smaller device, it will display the Elgato Prompter by name. And the software will remember the unique settings of both devices as well. So if you have both and switch between both of them, it will work seamlessly. One set of settings for Prompter and the other for Prompter XL. And if you're anything like me, I've started to use these on one computer to run both prompters, and I do this on my M1 MacBook Air, and it's worked out like a dream so far. And as I plan to work from 2 sets moving forward, this is going to be handy to flip between the two. Now, as we scroll down the left-hand side of the screen, you can power the prompter on and off. You can flip the screen, as I mentioned, and change settings like brightness and contrast. Choose the content you want to see. If you require a normal extended display, you can do that. Text for reading scripts, just like I am now, or of course, the chance to see chat from your audience. Then you have your settings for text. Just like in Prompter, I use the XL in a very similar way. I bunch my scripts together in the center of the screen to ensure the eye line is correct. So you see this via the horizontal margin setting, and I have this set to 56%. Now you may think I could have just had the text covering the full width of the screen now that the prompter is so much further away, but I could tell in my testing my eyes, well, they were still moving a little too much for my liking whilst I was reading the copy. So 56% for me is the sweet spot. So at 9 feet away from the XL, this works for me. I keep the same blue text as I did do with the old prompter, just to make sure we don't get any of that white word bleeding we had on the original device. You can also show the overlays and crosshairs if you wish to, if you want things like to know where the center of the lens is. To the right, we still have the area where the main body of text is, and at present, I still have to organize my scripts in advance. As I mentioned in my earlier review of the Elgato Prompter, I take out any line spacings before I paste into the software. That's to ensure I don't have any script chapters for every sentence. I want each part of text to have its own chapter, and this makes navigation through the scripts an awful lot easier. I did go a little bit deeper into this in my original prompter review, so go give that a look. Although it's still annoying and an extra step into pasting the text into the software, once it's pasted in, it works like a dream. When working in TV, one of the best ways to control the teleprompter is with a pedal, and Elgato do make a pedal for multi-use with their products. This is set up and controlled via the Stream Deck software, which you have to download for free from the Elgato website. I've used this exclusively with the original prompter, and it works just as well with XL2. The left pedal is to scroll back, the center one is for skipping back to the top of the previous chapter for any rereads, and the right is to scroll on, very much like, I suppose, an accelerator in a car. This works brilliantly for me, as I prefer not to use voice recognition, as I could never get it to work perfectly, and given that I'm used to TV teleprompters, I'll just control it myself. And speaking of control, if you want to go between 2 prompter devices, make sure you set up 2 profiles in Stream Deck, because I've noticed the scroll speeds between Prompter and also Prompter XL are slightly different. Now we have a much bigger screen, the text, well, it will scroll a little slower. So to accelerate things, I have the scroll speed set to -9 for XL, whereas for Prompter, it's -6. Now, I've had a lot of questions about the Stream Deck pedal from my Elgato Prompter review, asking whether you can hear the noise of the pedal whilst recording, because as you can hear, it can make a banging sound. However, each pedal has a series of springs in, and I liken it to using, well, an accelerator on a car. You don't move between pedals with a heavy foot, you just gently squeeze them, and by doing so, you get 0 noise on your videos. So with a little bit of practice, the pedal, well, it becomes child's play. I can only speak for myself, and I can tell you I'm not the best at making these videos off the cuff. I'm just not disciplined enough. And I've spent, the last 20 plus years working for the BBC as a radio reporter and sports commentator, and since 2012, I've worked in television. And in both roles, scripts have always been, the bedrock of my work. In radio, it was reading off paper scripts for sports bulletins. In TV, it was creating scripts for the presenter to read from an auto cue. So when making these videos, I use the same principles I've always been used to. Now, I've tried other teleprompter options and they do a job, but getting the Elgato Prompter last year really changed the game. It was simple to use, had its own built-in screen and software, and more importantly for me, I could edit my scripts on the fly whilst recording these videos just like you do in TV, and instantly see the copy update on the prompter in real time. So my main use for a prompter is to keep the duration of these videos locked down and ensure I don't waffle. And boy, can I waffle. So if you're having issues keeping your videos tight to an editorial duration, there's only one prompter I can recommend. Well, to be honest, now two, the Elgato Prompter and the Elgato Prompter XL. I have to say I'm a fan of both prompters Elgato have created. I bought the original with my own money and reviewed it on this channel because I enjoyed it so much. I will continue to use both devices on my different sets. The original prompter is great for my office setup, as I'm only, as I say, an arm's length away from the lens, ideal for talking head situations. And here on my second set with the table and the ability to demonstrate products, the XL being 9 feet away, well, it's still easy to read. If either of these scenarios resonate with you, then you'll know which product you want to use. If you've been wanting a bigger prompter for a while and you've been wanting this, then from my experience, well, you're not going to be disappointed. But fans of the original prompter will see their old favorites in this, and if you're new to the idea of getting a prompter or you want to upgrade from another brand, I can wholeheartedly give this device my approval. Everything from the build quality, I love the screen and how it clicks into place, the software, it's compact despite being larger too, and to be honest, Elgato just get it with their prompters. So with all of that said, I'll be using both devices on this channel for future videos, and as for Prompter XL, well, this is a total game changer for me, and I'm sure it will be for you too.